COVID has shown, you don't change your business plans. If you don't look at the world differently now, your old playbook is not going to work anymore.
Hi there, and thank you for joining Change I Am Possible, India's first future tech podcast. Do kindly subscribe, support, and share. So it's a complete pleasure and honor chatting with Anil Nair, who's the Managing Director, Country Digital Acceleration Program, Asia Pacific, Japan and China at Cisco. So Cisco's Country Digital Acceleration is a unique partnership with national leadership, industry and academia to accelerate a nation's digitization agenda, grow GDP, create new jobs and innovate public and private sector. We spoke about Cisco's initiative for COVID-19, the impact generally on the economy and common people, and what will be the new normal. I wish you enjoyed this conversation.
Can you explain what Cisco Country Digital Acceleration Program is and your role initiatives in the Apjc countries?
Sure. Thanks, Eddie, for the opportunity. I think it's a great forum for me to explain what we do. So CDA is Country Digital Acceleration. And what we do is accelerate the digital agenda of nations. So we work closely with three constituencies. We work with the country political leaders, we work with industry, and we work with academia. The conversations usually start at the top with presidents and prime ministers of countries. And then, of course, the teams work the details. We look at what benefits citizens, what benefits the country, and essentially what we can do to support GDP growth, innovation, job creation, all through digital interventions. And we invest in proofs of concept or projects which showcase digital outcomes. Because when the outcomes happen, they encourage more investments, they encourage real investment, and that's what enables growth. So globally, we are now in about 34 countries. And if you look at it, we're probably impacting 60% of the world's population, about 70% of the world's GDP. And in APJC, we're in 7 countries. We're in India, China, Indonesia, Australia, we're in Japan, South Korea, and Philippines.
You said your program benefits citizens in country, and I think at this point of time, we need such a program because COVID-19 has put the entire world to a complete pause. If you see, at least in America, there's 20 million people who have filed for unemployment benefits. In India, there is so many people who are going to get impacted by something like this. Right from the small, medium businesses to especially the ones who are going to get the most impacted are going to be the small, medium businesses, the startups, and the migrants and the daily wage laborers, right? So how do you see COVID-19 impacting India, and what do you think should be done to, like you said, you benefit citizens, benefit countries? What is the role that you see with CDA and you playing over there?
So first of all, let's look at the overall scenario. With COVID, there are going to be some sectors that are going to be adversely impacted, like tourism, travel, entertainment, automobiles, grocery, non-grocery retail, actually, and manufacturing. And I see a more neutral to positive sectoral impact in the retailing of essentials, in e-commerce, in pharma, in logistics, IT, BPO, all of that. But I think what I think will happen is we're going to see the rise of small business and the gig economy, the nano businesses as we call it. And not that because they haven't been impacted by COVID, but more because they're smaller, they're more flexible, they're adroit, and governments will give them unprecedented support to get employment back on the fast track. So while getting to, we shouldn't call it the new normal, the next normal, there are 2 aspects we have to bear in mind. So outside of commerce, we'll see less polarization. We'll see, because we're in the face of a common enemy, we'll see greater community awareness. And we will see greater nationalism and maybe greater risk aversion. So What is going to be essential going forward, and what every company will realize, small, big, otherwise, is that there has to be digital acceleration. Because that's what's going to increase speed, that's what's going to increase flexibility while reducing costs. And we actually will see more of telecommuting, digital commerce, working from home, all of which Cisco will help enable. But with this, it also brings a responsibility, that governments, industry, and society at large have to be able to do, which is to bridge the digital divide, as we call it. Making sure that people of the world have internet connectivity so that nobody gets left behind in this age. The report recently, and it's called The Role of Technology in Powering an Inclusive Future. And what it really says is that we have to bring internet to the people, and those currently without it, with the interventions that we can do, will add 6.7 trillion to the global economy and possibly lift maybe 500 million people out of poverty.
Yes, rightfully said. I mean, we are all in it together. And you said there's going to be a lot of community awareness because this is unprecedented times, and no time in human history has the entire world come together. You have the scientists, you have the technologists, you have the marketeers, you have the common people. Everybody's come together and trying to find a solution and come out of this problem. And yes, we've all into this together. And you said that there are these companies which there are these certain sectors of industries which are positively impacted, right? The gig economy, there is the content is growing. There's an explosion over there in the streaming space, and yes, internet. Once the entire world is connected, I mean, in India itself, there's a certain. You step out of the cities, you go into the rural spaces. They still lack proper internet connectivity, and with internet connectivity, you will get the knowledge of what's happening around the world. Because today, I mean, all you need is a phone which is connected to the internet, and that gives you information. And knowledge is power. The more information you have, you can, sitting from any part of the world, you have the power to change the world. So that's what internet gives, and we give more power to you guys. So tell me, are you guys doing any COVID-19 related projects by CDA?
So first, Cisco has donated more than 200 million towards safety, social and digital enablement, and so on. And maybe as we speak, the numbers will be even higher. So under CDA specifically, we're doing about 70 projects across the globe. And in all of these projects, we're enabling the digital core, which is that we're looking at network, we're looking at Wi-Fi, we're looking at collaboration solutions, we're looking at cybersecurity, and many of the other elements. So now if you look at the projects that we're doing, let me categorize them by different verticals because that'll be easy to understand. Of course, first is healthcare. And one of the actions we've taken is to enable digital dashboarding. So we're working with governments to enable the GIS depiction of information, primarily because then fact-based decisioning can happen. When different teams are working together, it's important they look at a common dashboard so that there is concerted action. So these dashboards essentially can be used for COVID hotspots. They're being used for supply chain related issues, for tracking social media and other responses. So that's one initiative. Then another, we're enabling the first responder in a country to receive many more calls because there's a deluge of calls, and we're helping them to receive and respond to all of these calls, and we're video enabling them. The third initiative that we're doing is telemedicine cards. We're doing this in India, we're doing this in Taiwan, and the whole idea is to enable remote consulting so that the experts don't have to go necessarily in front of patients for fear of getting infected, but they can make a difference in terms of teleconsulting, and these are mostly used in ICUs.
Right. Yes.
Another initiative we're doing where a country has actually dedicated 10 buildings, 10 whole buildings as a COVID-19 emergency hospital. And so what we're doing there is connecting this, enabling this hospital itself and allowing it to connect with about 15 field hospitals. And then we're also evolving a blueprint for emergency overflow hospitals. Because in India also you're seeing a lot of stadia are being taken over. Community centers are being taken over so that they can treat a larger number of patients. So the other area that we're focused on is education. As you can see, with online education, the whole system has changed. In a country, we are enabling the government, ministers actually, federal and state ministers, to be able to collaborate using our solutions so that policy shaping continues. Earlier, it used to be done face-to-face, and now we are giving them solutions which is almost as good. And of course, there are lots of initiatives to enable remote teaching. But two of the interesting initiatives we're doing, one is in Brazil, where we're providing collaboration solutions to enable, we're providing it to the judiciary to enable the wheels of justice, as it were, to keep moving. Oh. And another solution we're working on is a smart legislature solution. So what we're saying is that lawmakers have to continue to work, right? And they've got to be able to take decisions, and they've got to be able to run the country. And so we are creating a system for them to be able to do that. And we're looking at all aspects, including the voting and how it goes on, and how they will speak, and how it will be rostered and all of that. So those are the initiatives that we're doing, which are interesting.
Lovely. How cool is that? So first of all, I mean, it's great that you guys are helping. You said you've donated close to $200 million. So how cool is that? We need more people and more companies like yourself who come together and help the entire world, because more than ever right now, everybody needs help, because we need to come out of this, and we need to come out of this strong. And we humans are resilient. And it's surprising that, you guys as a company, sitting at your home, because everybody's quarantined, everybody's doing remote work, but you have done so much during that period. You said you are tackling the healthcare, the telemedicine, you have with your education sector and so on and so forth. So it's extremely commendable, and more power and more success to you guys. So COVID-19, when do you see things becoming normal? Because everybody is talking about that. What is going to be the new normal? When things are going to get turned back to normal? When is the education sector is going to open up? When is the business is going to open up? When are we going to step out of the of a house? I know that everybody is speculating at this point in time. We don't really have any clue, because we have a country, we've got 1.3 billion people, and it's very difficult to tackle something like that. But I think so far we've done very good, because for a country of 1.3 billion, we have close to around, I don't know the right numbers, but I think we've got 70,000 who are infected with COVID. But I think for a country like 1.3 billion people, I think we've done very good. So what do you think, what would be your suggestion to come back normal, and what do you think about the future?
So the first is, all governments realize that it's not business as usual, and the economy really needs a stimulus to keep going. And so we are seeing, decisions being taken between life and livelihood. So it's interesting that the stimulus packages announced are a large part of the GDP. For instance, Japan is 21% of GDP. US is, if I recall correctly, 13% of the GDP. Sweden is 12%, Germany is 11%. India is 10% of GDP. So it's probably the fifth largest stimulus package. And when you put it all together, it's about 266 billion, which is very, very interesting. And to me, there are two sectors of particular interest. And when you look at this 266 billion stimulus package, it's about direct benefit transfer, which is cash. It's about loans, it's about insurance, and all these aspects. When I look at these two sectors, and why I find them interesting is because if you take agriculture, they say that 50% plus of our population is engaged in agriculture. And helping these people means that you're helping a large part of India. And the second aspect about agriculture is it encourages food self-sufficiency, which is very, very important at this time. And the second sector, and I find it interesting because that's the small and medium business. If you look at India's GDP, about 35% of the GDP or thereabouts would be from SMB. It'd be a large part of our exports. And 35%, almost 460 million people are engaged in that. So when you look at these two sectors, just these two sectors and the impetus given here will make a big difference to that. Now, there are going to be other sectors. There are going to be sectors that are adversely affected. We talked about it like tourism, auto, airlines. I'm sure the government will figure out how to revive them and support them. As far as they're concerned, the Prime Minister has talked about the main pillars, and he's also talked about smart infra. He's talked about smart supply chains, and he's talked about a tech-driven system. And he talked about all of these being foundational pillars for growth, which is very great for Cisco.
Right. So you're talking about tech-driven system. I mean, if you see, we're in the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. I mean, technology is growing exponentially. Right now, most of your remote work, remote education, remote healthcare, telemedicine, though we are using the 2D platform, even right now to communicate with, but there is technology such as virtual reality and your artificial intelligence, which has great capabilities to enhance remote work, your remote healthcare, your remote education and things like that. Your country digital acceleration talks about digital transformation. Now, technology is going to be the key. The Prime Minister also, he said, is talking about a tech-driven system. So, do you think that digital transformation will be a key to revive the economy? And can you provide some industry examples of innovation adoption of tech?
So let me tell you about a few of them. Let's take agriculture.
Right.
The real problem in India is we have 45 farmer deaths almost happening every day. And essentially it's because they're over-dependent on rain. And so we're working with a certain state government, and their focus is on paddy, which is rice, and shrimps. So what we've done is we have put solar-powered sensors into the paddy field and the shrimp pond. Get us all the information. We extract information about the oxygen, the nutrients, the impurities. This information is relayed to a village knowledge center, a VKC. And from here, so that preemptive steps can be taken, they have a database of farmers from 15 villages. This information goes out to them. It's blended with information relating to the weather, relating to market prices and input prices, so that farmers can be liberated and they can look more at holistic farming versus overdependence on grain. The second project that we're doing is with ports and inland waterways. So what is a big problem that we're trying to resolve? We see that logistics costs are 13% of our GDP, which makes us relatively inefficient. So if you look at China, the logistics costs would be 8%. If you look at Europe and US, it would be closer to 10%. Our costs are. And so the government is pushing the use of waterways and inland waterways, ports and inland waterways, to transport cargo because it probably costs a fraction of what road or rail costs. And so we're doing this proof of concept, which is about safety, so the ships can come in faster, they can berth faster, they can unload cargo faster. There's effective communication between all the people concerned, and there are huge energy savings. So we're trying to contribute to the cause of reducing logistics costs. Then we're working with the airport. Here, what we're trying to do is they've already got the infrastructure in place. We're trying to figure out how to help them to use their resources better. And the aim is to reduce the turnaround time of aircrafts so that they can service more aircrafts and they can service surging passenger traffic. We're hoping that in good time, the traffic will be back at the airports. And the purpose of the POC is to make sure that aircrafts can land and take off much faster, shave off about a few minutes from each landing, and thereby they'll be able to service more aircrafts using the current infrastructure, and hopefully we'll see increasing revenues and of course increasing profitability. Now, another project that we're working on is in mining, and we are using IoT in a particular mine where we find that when you do iron ore mining, sometimes you get oversized boulders. And when these oversized boulders are put on the process line, the crushers get affected and come to a stop. And the whole line gets affected. And you're losing millions of dollars. So with a small intervention, we're able to make a big difference, making sure that we're able to expel all these outsized boulders. We're also working with another mine where we're connecting workers almost a kilometer down below the earth with the command center. And we're helping the traffic management 1 kilometer below the earth, where the trucks, we make sure they don't collide into each other or there are no accidents. And of course, education is a big area. As you know, in India, we are 1 million teachers short. And we have this other problem. We call it the 2/3, 1/3 problem, because the resources are all in the urban areas and the population is in the rural area. So 2/3 of our resources are in the urban areas, the people are in the rural areas. And the best way to bridge this divide is to do it digitally. So the teachers, wherever they may be, can teach multiple schools. So not only do you share teachers, you're sharing content, you can do virtual site visits, the possibilities are endless. So these are some of the proofs of concepts that we've been doing.
Lovely, lovely. So country digital acceleration, I think that will play a key role going forward, because I think most of the countries would want their economy to revive, and a country digital acceleration plan would be the I think would play a key role in something like that. Digital transformation today, I think, is going to be the most important topic of conversation for any, not just a country. I mean, even businesses. I mean, to sustain, thrive, and move ahead, your digital transformation would be the key. So, but do you think there during crisis for doing a digital transformation would be a challenge? Do you see that as a challenge, or do you see that as an opportunity?
So there's certainly going to be challenges. Okay, the major focus, if you see now, is on safety. It's about, access, movement is difficult. We see supply chains are much slower. And all projects that we're doing, we have to do it because it makes a big difference to the country and to citizens. But we have to do a lot of implementation, or we have to see what we can do remotely. But if you see, digital transformation actually gets accelerated in times like this. So of working from home, you have large populations doing that. And earlier we were not used to doing it, but now it's becoming a way of life. Telehealth, which we talked about, learning, which we talked about, events are now being done, remotely.
Digitally. Yeah.
And digitally and collaboratively. And even banking, all your transactions now, you don't visit a bank, and all of it gets enabled digitally. So I think as we move towards normalcy, we're going to see all these sectors realign in different ways. Like, for instance, the way you manufacture. They're going to have to worry about social distancing in manufacturing locations, or for instance, where restaurants and how they're going to serve their customers, or the way shopping or entertainment happens is going to change radically. So I think to achieve normalcy, all industries and institutions will have to reimagine how they're going to operate. And more importantly, they're going to figure, they would have to figure what their digital transformation plan is going to be like, so that they can leverage handhelds, they can leverage IoT and 5G and all the new technologies that are coming in. And most important, how they can fortify themselves as regards cybersecurity. That's what I see.
Besides the negatives of COVID-19, there's quite a lot of positives of COVID-19 also, right? I mean, we've realized that, we can sit at home and we can still do our work, spend some more time with our family. Ganga and the other rivers, there are fish back in those rivers. The air is much cleaner. And yes, I'm sure there are the negatives, but there are positives also. So sometimes I feel that maybe we could actually try and see if we could implement this, maybe at least 15 days in a year, so you let the earth breathe, and so that things come back to normal. And besides that, I think it's pushing us humans also, right? Because we are change is the most difficult, right? We don't accept change easily, but this is somehow kind of push that conversation forward, and we are the ones who are going to move ahead. I believe are the ones who are going to change themselves, are the ones who are going to reskill, upskill, relearn, innovate, use this time, and figure out your plan forward.
And let me tell you more about APJC now. For instance, if you take Japan, we're doing a lot of projects relating to automation for an aging society. We are aligning with their Society 5.0 program. If you look at South Korea, their focus is on a people-centered response to the fourth industrial revolution, and that's what we're doing in terms of projects there. In Indonesia, you will find that there is a dominance of state-owned enterprises, and we're working with them. And almost 95% plus of people are involved with small and medium business. So we're doing a number of interventions there. In India, our focus now is on smart infrastructure. And if you look across APJC, we're doing projects, and if you see common themes across APJC, we're doing projects in 5G, small and medium businesses, cybersecurity, cloud, transportation, education, healthcare. So I have two observations here. One is that, we used to always say, and everybody used to say, that data has become the currency of the digital age. But, this pandemic has sort of speeded up mass transition to remote connectivity. And so now, in the process of doing all these projects, and more so in the last few months, we've seen an equally valuable currency which has emerged, which is trust. Because, through the CDA program, we formed deep relationships with many government and industry leadership. And Cisco has been able to deploy resources very quickly and strategically because of that in areas that need the most relief. And it really, it's very heartening that this new currency is becoming so valuable, trust. And the second point I wanted to make is that, our CEO recently said that giving back to society has to be central to all business plans. And I think through CDA, we're happy to be living that. Lovely. So that's the way I see it.
Lovely. How cool is that? Yes, I think we are all in it together, and it's organizations such as yours, who's been so giving. That's the only way we can build this world together, which has been impacted so badly. So last question. I mean, would you like to share your insights or advice to our listeners, whether it's small businesses or individuals, what are the steps they should take to, sustain and thrive in this crisis?
So let me fall back on some of the turnarounds that I did in my past life.
Right.
And so the first thing, it's always about people. It's about leadership and people, and having the right people in the bus, in the right seats, as they say, because that's going to make a big difference about whether you succeed or fail. The second is, I would say, differentiation. You've got to say, what is it that you're going to do differently from the rest of the marketplace? Otherwise, you get commoditized. So whether you're going to focus, when I say differentiation, you can focus on maybe customer responsiveness, or focus on end-to-end solutions, or making sure that your focus as an entity is about return on the investments that they're making. If you're in technology, then return on technology investment, and thinking about what is the return on technology investment that your customers will benefit from. So once your strategy is clear, what's going to differentiate you is how you're going to join the dots differently from the others. So that's the second. The third is, I think you have to figure out where your growth is going to come from. And this means making choices, because you've got to decide what to do, and equally important is what you're not going to do, because our resources are limited. And unless you figure exactly what you're going to focus on, your growth is not going to happen and your resources are going to be too thin. The next step is essentially that you should prioritize what you're going to do first and what you're going to do next. And while you're doing that, you've also got to align the organization accordingly, so there is no dissonance within the organization, so that all the organizational arrows, as it were, are pointed in the same direction. Point number 5 would be resourcing appropriately, because you may have a lot of ideas, but ideas without resources have a very short life. So you've got to make sure that your ideas are resourced appropriately. The 6th would be, look at your entire value chain. Look across everything that your organization does and optimize it. And the last point number 7, is that you've got to be equally adept at pivoting dynamically, so that you can re-resource, you can change engines literally mid-flight. So you are looking around corners and making sure that you're ahead of the curve. So let me repeat again. 1 is leadership and people. 2nd is how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace. 3rd is figure out exactly where your growth is going to come from. Prioritize accordingly and align your organization accordingly. Resource appropriately. Optimize your entire value chain, and have the ability to pivot dynamically, because as COVID has shown, you don't change your business plans. If you don't look at the world differently now, your old playbook is not going to work anymore. So a couple of points to bear in mind while implementing these points. 1 is that everything that you do in the short term must align with your long-term purpose. And what you do is going to be no different now, except that in times like this, you'll have to do it much faster, you'll have to do it more deftly, and do it much better than anybody else. So that's the way I would put it.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Anil. Really appreciate you being part of Change I Am Possible podcast and sharing your insight. And you said, yeah, these are trying times, but adversity creates opportunity. And yes, you need to change, you need to adapt, and you need to do it differently. That's what differentiates you from somebody else, right? And yes, we are humans are resilient, and somehow the darkest times creates the best out of you. So I hope that we come out of this COVID-19 soon. I hope the economy normalizes soon. I hope the businesses comes back to normal soon. I hope that a country as a whole rise and become a global superpower, and keep on doing what you're doing. And thank you for being part of Change Possible podcast. To my listeners, if you like what you see, please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you.